morning. Welcome to Zen Glop, the podcast. Music, poetry, and psychogeography. Good morning to everyone on the YouTube channel, and good morning to everyone listening through your podcast subscriptions. Check out the website zenglop.net for all kinds of other related material, including an archive of the podcast. So it's been a few weeks, right? There was, I think, 2 weeks where I did not record any podcast. Right? Is that right? 2 weeks? Yeah. And the first week was by accident, scheduling and conflicts. And then the second week, it got to be Tuesday morning, and I was sitting here. And I said, I don't have anything to say, which is not a normal experience for me. I can talk endlessly on just about the drop of a pin. So it wasn't that I had nothing to talk about. It was just that I thought, well, why would I do that? Why would I do this? You know? And I haven't really come up with a good answer. I think there's two things it ties into. And it's language that I get from my meditation practice. And so that's interesting, right? Like for me, this podcasting process is part of the examination of life. It's the necessary function of being human, is to examine the life that we live. And so I record these podcasts, and I do it because I enjoy the sitting here and speaking. I enjoy podcasts. And I do also hope that as you listen to these and as you hear the kind of evolution of the conversation in the podcast, that it helps you frame the similar questions in your life, different questions, but similar in the valence of them. Right? What are the questions that matter? And how do we get to those? And part of it is this process of dialogue and conversation with the self, with the experience of the self, and then with other people who are doing the same kind of examination. So it all kind of merges in, right? There's the practice on the cushion, there's the practice of the podcast, the experience of the cushion, the experience of the podcast. But there's a confidence required in that, right? Like I don't mean a confidence in the ability to speak in front of people, or a confidence that there's value or use in publishing a podcast. There doesn't need to be a value or use to publish a podcast. I'm talking about confidence in the necessity of the outcome, the necessity of the necessity of the outcome. Yeah. That there is an outcome that will occur. What's the verb for an outcome? An outcome that outcomes. There will be an outcome that comes out of this moment. And following the practice and following the discipline of the dialogue will yield a different kind of outcome. I was going to say a better outcome, but I don't know what that would mean. It would mean an outcome that has survived scrutiny. It would mean an outcome that then is perhaps both more authentic and more spontaneous. And then because it is survived scrutiny, more authentic, more spontaneous, it is healthier, more vibrant, more likely to survive the obscurations of our noisy lives. That is an outcome and an objective. And I think what we can see along the way are fragments of illumination that promise that authenticity and spontaneity. And that the confidence is knowing that working the practice will yield that outcome. That's the confidence I'm talking about. That's the faith. It isn't faith in some external promise or event. It's the confidence that an apple will fall, or the faith that water will boil. So the outcome that comes out of the moment that has been scrutinized and distilled into authenticity and spontaneity. Everything should pass through that crucible, the examination, the crucible of the examined life. Here I talk mostly about meditation and about creativity, art, music, different projects I might be involved in, different projects that I'm aware of, poems, pieces of music. That's my sort of arrangement of pieces. It will be different for everybody. Different in terms of what falls into that crucible. But the crucible of examination is a meta phenomenon. It is something that will be consistent. Everything else will be different. The content of the crucible, even the tools that are used to provide the examination, will be different. And not everyone will choose a relatively formal meditation practice and a podcast. It could be a long walk every day. It could be anything. There's a myriad of tools and practices to provide that examination. Tools and practices that we might not even call tools and practices. So I'm kind of talking myself back into the value of this process, this podcast, and this information, and this content, and this larger body of work. It's good to be back, though. I do like recording podcasts. I like being up early. I like having coffee while I'm recording a podcast. It's still dark, though, even with the clock change. Perhaps because of the clock change, it's still dark now. But it's there. That's how it works, right? That's how it works in the daylight savings time. It stays darker later. It's still only 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. We'll talk about saving daylight savings time some other time. I don't have a preference for one or the other. I just wish we would choose one. Stick with it. So for all that, I'll be back on Thursday with another podcast episode. Keep your wits about you. Before then, if you have any questions, comments, drop me a note to zenglob@gmail.com.